Well, one of the most important aspects of pecan management is pest monitoring. And one of the pests that's extremely important to monitor for is the pecan weevil. And with us back again this week is Dr. Phil Mulder, OSU Extension Entomologist. And Phil, thanks for joining us again.
You bet. My pleasure.
So now what have we got here on this tree? It looks like quite an apparatus.
Yeah. Well, basically this is called the Pecan Weevil Circle Trap. And this was invented by a grower out of Kansas, this particular type of trap. We've modified it somewhat. And actually you can find out how to make this trap from a fact sheet that we have. OSU Extension fact sheet number 7190 tells you how to make this trap. It's relatively simple. It basically consists of a boll weevil trap top, which you see here. And the boll weevil trap top unscrews, and the pecan weevils are actually captured in this top cylinder. And of course it's not that time of year yet, but we'll be catching pecan weevils in the next month or so. And then the trap is simply attached to the tree with this wood lath and a couple of drywall screws. Basically what we do is just screw this wood lath in with a couple of drywall screws to secure it. There's another screw up here that I've already put in. And then we staple the bottom of the screening with just simple staples that are pretty good and deep, so that they go and secure the trap onto the tree. We try to mesh them up so that we have a couple of traps on each tree, not on every tree in the orchard, but to give us some indication of when the pecan weevil has really come into the orchard. They emerge from the ground. The majority of the population spends 2 years in the ground, and at the end of that 2-year period, about 90% of those weevils will emerge and will orient to the tree either by flying to it or crawling up the trunk. In fact, the vast majority actually fly to the trunk. And we take advantage of that orientation by having these traps on there. They simply crawl up into the trap and then get caught in the funnel up at the top.
Okay.
So it's a very effective trap. We've actually found that it to be almost a good control mechanism for the homeowner. Homeowners oftentimes don't have an access to chemicals, or they don't have a means of spraying chemicals in and around the home environment, or sometimes they do, but because of their neighbors or dogs or pets or children or swimming pools that may be nearby, they don't want to spray their trees. So this may give them an alternative.
And this will not necessarily provide total control of the pest, but it will be a good percentage of them.
That's correct. About, like I said, 84% of the weevil population orients to the trunk, so we can catch a good portion of it. About 6% never make it to a pecan tree, and then about 10% actually fly straight into the canopy. And so we miss those 10%, but we catch the majority if we have these traps on the pecan tree.
Okay. Now, as we're talking about a pecan weevil, why are they such a bad pest to a pecan tree?
Well, they're not bad in terms of the pecan trunk or anything like that, which is where we're catching them, but they're bad on the nut production. Pecan weevils, during the water stage of that, when that nut is really starting to develop a kernel, they can cause the pecans to drop, or they can cause stick tights if they're feeding on the pecans during that water stage, or even into that gel stage. When it reaches the dough stage of development, when that germ has started to form, and when you're starting to get kernel or nut meat inside the pecan, they can actually deposit up to 4 or 5 eggs in each one of those pecans, the females can. And as a consequence, the meat is no good. I mean, it's worthless. People just don't want it. So there can be quite a bit of damage. And each female can lay 100 eggs, up to 100 eggs. So there's some tremendous potential for reproductive mess up of the tree, if you will. They can really tear it up pretty bad. And it's one of the most significant pests in Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you showing these traps. It's a good monitoring tool for producers and probably a good control tool for homeowners.
Maybe one of the best opportunities for control for the homeowner situation.
Great.
Especially where they just have a few trees.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.